In this video, we're going to be looking at factorizing quadratic expressions. So a quadratic expression such as x squared plus 6x plus 8, this is known as a trinomial, obviously because it has three terms, all right? The x squared, 6x, and the 8, so tri. So when we're factorizing these types of quadratics, the first thing we're going to break down is how we got the x squared. So if you look in that first part, we've got two long red arrows, and it's showing that we need at least two x's to get the x squared. So we know there's going to be two x's. X times x is x squared, so that's good. That's the first part of a factorizing. Now, how we got that 6x, so the trick here is it's the sum of the other two factors. So if we look at our bracketed area, we have, let me just underline it, I'll circle it, we've got 2 and a 4, okay? So that middle term is the sum of those two numbers. So 2 plus 4 is 6, all right? So the middle term is the sum. Here we have our n term, the constant term, so that's the number with no x's. Now that's the product. So again, our 2 and our 4, if we times them, 2 times 4, we get 8, which was our constant at the end. So the middle term, the one with an x, is the sum, and the number without an x is the product. So that'll come in use later. So when we're factorizing a quadratic, remember you've got to find two numbers that have a sum of b and a product of c. So when I say a sum of b and a product of c, I mean if we have our x, this is the general form, plus c, we want the sum, so this b value here, to be the two numbers added together, and then this c value is the product. So before we begin, we're going to look at just looking in how and finding these pairs of numbers. So we need a pair of number who has a product of 12 and a sum of 7. So what that means is we want something that timeses to give 12 and something that pluses to give 7. So two numbers that come to mind for me, well, let's just think of two numbers that times to give 12. I'm going to say 6 and 2. So if I make a little bit of a table here, right, we've got times and we've got plus. If I say 6 and 2, 6 times 2 is 12, so that's a tick. That met the requirement of our product, but 6 plus 2 equals 8, which is not 7. So we know that's not the pair. The next pair we could do is 3 and 4. 3 times 4 is 12, so that's a tick and met that requirement. And then 3 plus 4 equals 7, so we can tick that off. It meets that requirement. So the pair is 3 and 4. Okay, so this is why knowing the sum and product is coming in handy when we're going to factorize. So we have another one here. I can draw a quick table, times plus, and my pair. So we have a product that's negative. When you have a product that's negative, it means one of your numbers has to be a negative number. All right. If your product is negative, and your sum is positive, like in our case, we have a small number that's negative and a large positive. Alright, so of the two numbers that we're going to get, the smallest number is going to be a negative and the largest will be a positive. So two numbers that times together will be 2 and 7. So I can try that. So negative 2 times 7 equals negative 14. So that's a tick. And then we have negative 2 plus 7, which is 5, and that's also a tick. Now, if I did the opposite and did negative 7 and 2, we'd have negative 7 times 2, which is negative 14, so that's a tick. But we have negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5, so that's why our smaller number was negative. Alright, so in this case, the pair is negative 2 and 7. Alright, so we're going to factorize these. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my table. I need to get a times number of 10 and a plus number of 7. So I'm going to think of some pairs of numbers that times to give 10. I can try 10 and 1. So 10 times 1 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. So that's not it. So x. And then I have 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 plus 5 is 7. So that's it. So when you've got that point, I know there's an x here, and I know there's an x here. We said our pair number was 2 and a 5, so 2 and a 5. And that's all you do, right? That's it factorized. You just put your pair into the brackets with the x's. So we'll try another one. We need a times of negative 18 and a plus of negative 7. So this time the bigger number is going to be negative. So negative 9 and 2. So let's say negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. So that was lucky. I got it off on the first go. So down here, w's this time because we have a w here, not x's. So negative 9 is one of my numbers and plus 2 is the other. So if I expanded that by drawing my arrows like this, I would get that w squared minus 7w minus 18. Alright, we'll do one more. We have a times of a negative 14 and a plus of 5. So the bigger number will be positive here. So I need two numbers that times to give 14. So again, bigger numbers positive. So 7 and negative 2 is negative 14, and 7 take away 2 is 5. So that's it. Now remember, if you don't get it the first time, try to find a different pair and do the same thing until you get it. So k plus 7, k minus 2. Alright? Now, when you get something like this, it's important to look at that and go, okay, is there anything I can factorize first? So in this case, 2 is common for everything. So if I divide everything by 2, what I get is a 2 out the front. I get y squared plus y minus 2. And then I can look at factorizing this in bracket. So if I do the same thing we've done before, we have a times of negative 2 and a plus of 1. Because remember, if there's nothing in front of that y, there's an invisible 1 there. So usually when you have something like this, you know it's going to be 2 times negative 1. 2 and negative 1, not times. So 2 and negative 1 times negative 1 is negative 2. 2 take away 1 is 1. So that's it. So we have the 2 out the front still. We now have a bracketed area here. We have a plus 2 for the first number, and then we have a minus 1 to go there. Alright. Later you'll be introduced to something called the quadratic formula, which can help use this if you can't see your pairing. It's a formula where you just put some numbers in into your calculator and get the answer, but that'll be taught to you later. So to recap, remember when you're factorizing the quadratic, you need your front numbers first. So when we have x squared, we have 2 x's at least. Remember, your middle term is that sum, and your end term, the constant, is the times.